control's not working. What is up, Underworld?
Guys, we are back again.
Oh, we missed you last week. Sorry about that, guys. But we're here to make it up to you.
Yep, like something big.
Something huge.
Another one.
Literally huge.
Yeah.
Like this location, like I thought Trans-Allegheny was huge. This, I don't know the actual, like, I know Trans-Allegheny was 666 acres. I don't know what this location is.
We'll have to ask.
But, oh man. From what the saw on Facebook, we went from bridges to asylums.
Multiple asylums.
And now we're here. Ohio State Reformatory.
Now that might sound a little familiar if you've ever watched a certain movie.
Got Morgan Freeman.
Morgan Freeman.
Morgan Freeman.
The Shawshank Redemption.
Shawshank Redemption. Oh. It's just a legendary movie. So we have the lead paranormal investigator that does the paranormal tours at Ohio State Reformatory.
Go ahead and bring them on.
What better, more person than you could talk about it?
Yeah.
Than our buddy Greg. How you doing, Greg? What's going on, man?
Good. How are you guys doing?
Oh,
thank you so much.
We're doing better now that I'm talking to you, man.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me on the show.
No problem.
Thank you so much for giving us the time.
Definitely. Before we get into the reformatory, tell a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm a retired police officer. Spent 29 years as a police officer. Started investigating in 1991. Been investigating ever since. Been on a regular paranormal team since 2005.
Nice.
2013, my wife and I left that team. We formed our own team called Tri-C Ghost Hunters. I've been the paranormal program manager of several locations and still at a couple of locations where I manage all the paranormal stuff. Let's see. First investigated the Ohio State Reformatory back in 2004. Fell in love with the building. Told my wife, I said, when I retire, I want to start working here. I retired in 2011. 2013, both my wife and I started volunteering there.
Nice.
And 2017, I started doing the private ghost hunts. 2019, I became the lead paranormal investigator. And then my team, Tri-C Ghost Hunters, became the resident paranormal team there.
Nice.
And then 2022, my wife became the paranormal program manager there. So basically, her and I run the whole paranormal program there.
That's cool.
That is cool.
That's a couple goals right there.
Yeah, absolutely. So do you, your wife just books them and then you do the tours, and you have multiple tour guides?
I am the lead paranormal investigator for the prison.
Okay.
I am there for all of the private investigations. We have another staff member who's there for the public investigations.
Okay.
But anything with the paranormal, if we have any like paranormal movies that are filming, there are paranormal TV shows or YouTube channels, or if we have paranormal celebrities there doing an event, that's Kathy, that's my wife's name, and my responsibility to handle all those.
Okay.
And you also run the Parapsychon? Did I say that right?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh.
Both my Kathy and I organize an event at the Ohio State Reformatory called the Parapsychon, which is a 2-day event. We also have a kickoff party on the Friday prior. We have about 100 different vendors. I think this year we got about 22 different special guest celebrities.
Oh wow.
We have speakers. We have food trucks. We have a lot of exhibits, lot of vendors. We do a food drive, a pet supply drive. We have a bunch of different sweepstakes where people can win cool prizes. And my wife and I are the organizers. Tri-C Ghost Hunters are the hosts. Now I should step back a little. We call ourselves Tri-C Ghost Hunters because we have teams in Cleveland, Columbus, and Cincinnati.
Oh wow.
Ohio. So right now we've got about 40 to 42 members on our team.
Holy moly.
So we all come together and work that event, and we don't make any money off the event. All of our profit goes back into the reformatory.
Right.
So it's all about
fixing it up, and yeah,
it's all about giving back. And the cool thing about our event too is, and especially if you've never been to the reformatory, come out May 17th, 18th. You pay your admission ticket, which if you went tomorrow, you would pay an admission ticket, which is the same amount as it is on Parapsychon. Parapsychon is free. You don't have to pay any extra money. You get to go talk with our special guests, the celebrities, get to listen to the speakers, and go shopping at all the different vendor tables. It's really
right.
Cool.
Do you get to tour the reformatory also with that?
Yep. When you pay your admission, you get a self-guided tour.
Oh, cool.
And included in that, you get your tour of the prison. And we also have 3 different museums inside the prison too. So not only are you touring the prison, we've also have the Ohio Penal Museum, which they have artifacts and stuff from prisons throughout the state of Ohio, historic stuff.
Right.
We have the Shawshank Museum, where they have memorabilia and stuff from the movie Shawshank Redemption. And then we have the North Central Ohio Industrial Museum.
Okay.
So you get all that plus all of our stuff too.
Wow.
You can't.
That's a great. Yeah, that's a great deal. And how much is that? How much is the ticket?
It is $30 for the admission ticket. Which, like I said, if you were to go tomorrow, it'd be $30.
Right.
Now they do give discounts for students and college kids and seniors and stuff like that. Or you can get a 2-day pass for the Parapsychon weekend for $50. So
that's not bad at all.
Yeah.
I think
mom might want to go.
I think that's what we did for Spookala.
Yeah.
But now to get into Ohio State Reformatory.
Yeah.
If you have never seen this building, it looks like literally like a German castle. It's just the craziest thing of it. I just realized that Shawshank was filmed there. I never knew that until I started doing research. I was like, oh, well, that's really cool. But it opened in 1896 and closed in 1990. It got National Registered Landmark in 1983. So it was a nationally landmark before it even closed.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Is that just because of the date of it, or are they planning on closing, or?
Well, they had originally planned on closing it. So this is the history of the Ohio State Reformatory. It all started in 1867, where they were looking to find a new location in the state of Ohio for an intermediate prison.
Got you.
Basically, all they had was a boys' school and the Ohio Penitentiary. So they had nothing in between. So, I mean, if you committed a violent crime and you were young, they weren't going to send you to the boys' school. So you would have to go to the penitentiary, which didn't help you.
Right.
So they built the intermediate prison, and that's what it was originally called, the intermediate prison. And before it opened, they changed the name to the Ohio State Reformatory. So they started construction in 1886, finished construction in 1896.
Mhm.
But that was only the west cell block and the main administration portion, which is that castle-looking structure in the front of the building. And then they put in the east cell block in about 1910. And at the time, the inmates, they had to do actually four things there. They had to go to church, they had to go to school, and they had to learn a trade, but they also had to learn social skills by having yard time. And they used to only spend about 8 hours a night in their cells.
Oh, wow.
As the years progressed, it slowly turned into a maximum security prison. And even in the 1930s, there was overcrowding. So I think the prison was originally built for like 1,900 inmates, but by the 30s, it was up 3,000, 3,500. But by the late 60s, early 70s, it was a full-blown maximum security prison. And the building wasn't built as a maximum security prison.
Right.
And at the time, you could not force inmates to go to church, could not force them to go to school, could not force them to learn a trade. So they used to spend the vast amount of their time, 23, 24 hours a day in their cells. Wow. And the cells in the east cell block were not very big. They're 8 feet deep by 5.5 feet wide. 2 inmates, sometimes 3 were in those cells. So inmates filed a lawsuit. Yeah, and that's one of the east cell block cells. Inmates filed a lawsuit with the state of Ohio claiming that being incarcerated there was cruel and inhuman punishment. State agreed, and after some, snags in the system getting the new prison built, it finally closed at the end of December 1990.
Yeah, I couldn't even imagine, like we were talking offline, breaking the law and having to go to prison for the first time, and you walk into, something like this with hard killers and murderers and, whatever they were in there for. I couldn't, just even being that's what, 6, 7 floors, this cell block.
Yeah, that's the east cell block right there that you're showing, and that is 6 tiers high. So think of it as a 6-story building.
And then you're how many cells across on each floor,
On each tier, there's approximately 50 cells on each range. So about 100 cells on each tier. So 6 tiers, 100 cells, about 600 cells are there. Now that's strictly on the east cell block.
Yeah. Now this is so it's the largest freestanding cell block house in the world, right? There's nothing really larger than that.
Not that I know of.
Yeah, that's oh man.
I think there's like one I can't remember the name of it, but it's
in America?
No. Not in America.
Yeah, well, yeah.
In America, in
America, yeah.
That's the largest one. It has to be the largest one in the U.S.
Yeah, in the U.S. it is.
And we'll get to a couple pictures to show you how they get up and down this. I can't even imagine.
Oh, dizzy! I got dizzy just from looking at it.
So what is? Did they like lock people in here, or was that for the guards, or?
That was for the guards. That's in our area called the Central Guard Room. And they actually used it for visitation. Now, if you remember from the movie Shawshank Redemption, they used that area for the dining hall scenes. So whenever they were eating chow in the dining hall, that's where they filmed that.
Wow. And I have a couple pictures of, this is what you're saying. They kind of tried to make them interact, make them stuff together.
Right.
So basically, like you see in the movies, they all have a certain, this is the bakery, they have a kitchen, they have the laundry, they have all this. Did a lot of people, did that work for a lot of people, or?
Oh yeah, when it was a reformatory, it did work. I mean, hardly any of the inmates who were released came back.
Yeah, well, that's good.
So it did work because you were going to school, you were, getting your the whatever it was back then, GED, diploma. You were learning a trade, so you could get a job when you got out.
Right.
So, and you were learning social skills. So, but back then it did work. But times change, and the overcrowding, and just
Right.
money. We just weren't able to do it anymore.
Well, I'm sure it was a little different than back then than it is now to like get out and get a job with a felony or something. It's really hard now. A lot of companies frown upon that. Sorry, I forgot to turn Facebook off. But this is this
That's the mess hall.
The mess hall.
That was the original dining hall. What's cool about this now, that area is now the guest break room. So
okay.
So there's walls in there now, so that was the original dining room at the Reformatory.
That's cool.
I couldn't even imagine. And just did you ever get to go to this before it closed down as an officer? Or
you know what, I never knew it existed. So
okay.
I retired I started in 1982. So yeah, it was open 8 years, but I never went there. Never had a reason to go there. Never brought any inmates there.
Okay.
If you were from out of the county, what you would do if you arrested somebody, if you had to take them to a county, you would take them to the jail in your county.
Okay.
And then any transfers to like the prisons throughout the state, then the county would do that.
Right.
They would transfer them. So I would only transport inmates from my city that I worked in to the county jail.
Okay. Got ya. I didn't know if you've ever been in there, because I know the stories. From what I understand, it was like people that worked there, the superintendent, even the people that like were in prison there, it was always loud. Yeah. Always. Yeah. Like it was never quiet. And then
think about it, even if it's empty, you got that echo.
Yeah. Well, they said when it got quiet, something bad was going to happen.
Yeah. Because that means everybody's plotting something.
I don't know. But I know as prisons are and overcrowding and having bad people like that, I'm sure it was a really violent jail.
Oh yeah. Lot of violence.
Do you have a lot of that still, like violence wise, as in the paranormal when you do these tours, or do you have certain cells in certain places that are worse than others?
We do have a couple areas, excuse me, where people will get physically attacked in them. And when I say that, I'm like pushed, shoved, scratched.
Right.
So that on occasion it does happen in the west attic, which is above the west cell block, and in an area in the administration area on the third floor in a room called the chair room. Okay. So I don't know. I'm sure there are other areas, but I'm not familiar with it. And somebody has it happen somewhere else. Most of the time they tell me, but if they don't, then I don't know about it. But we do have numerous. Well, I say numerous, but we've had a handful of people who have been physically attacked, especially in the chair room.
Now, what did they do in the chair room? Did they just lock them in the chair or leave, or?
The chair room is in administration, so it wasn't part of the actual prison. So really no inmates would have been up there unless they were trustees or something like that. But right. Even then, they probably wouldn't let them wander around, because not a lot of people know this, but not only was the Ohio State Reformatory a prison, but it was also a home. Superintendents, assistant superintendents, chaplains, and guards actually used to live on the property.
Wow.
So that area in administration was real close to the homes.
Right.
So that the chair room, that's one of the rooms where we have no idea what that room was used for.
Wow.
So more than likely, it was probably just used for storage. It's the only room in the prison that has no windows. And there's other people that think because just down the hall, guards could rent out rooms to stay, while they were working. And this was a perfect place to work after working a midnight shift because there were no windows.
Yeah, you just go in there in dark room and pass out.
Yeah, but as far as we know, nothing ever bad has happened in that room.
Huh. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Now, that's the
west cell block.
Oh, west cell block. Okay.
That is the west cell block.
I just wanted to show the way the jail was when it was in operation to what it is now. We'll get into that in a second. So do you guys do like group tours of a certain amount of people and walk them through? Do you let them use equipment during the tour, or?
There are several different things that guests can do. So during the day, you can do a self-guided tour, which there will be a tour route that you can follow. And we have kiosks throughout the building too, where you can go find out about certain areas. And now also for the self-guided tour, you can rent a wand, an audio wand. There's plaques throughout the building where you just type in the number of the plaque and it'll tell you about that area.
Wow.
And they also have guided tours. So they have like a history meets Hollywood tour.
Okay.
And they'll, talk about the history and the movies that were filmed there. And then they have a Beyond the Bars tour where they will take you to certain areas that are not on the self-guided tour.
Wow.
Now that's during the daytime. Now, in the evening, we've got a couple different things that you can do too. On select Friday evenings, you can do a ghost walk. That is a guided tour. It's a 2-hour guided tour inside the prison at night with the lights off, and the guides will tell you about the paranormal stuff that goes on in the areas. And I am a tour guide for that. We have a public investigation where you can purchase a ticket, and that's on select Saturday nights, where you can go purchase a ticket, bring some equipment, or you can even rent equipment from us. And you have free roam of the prison from like 7 p.m. to 3 a.m. But now with that, you're there with a bunch of other guests. There's a lot of guests during the public months. Or you can do a private investigation. Now that is where I come into play. So you can check in at 6 o'clock, and I've had groups there anywhere from 2 people up to 50.
Wow.
So you rent out the building, you come in, I'll welcome you. We'll make sure you have your waivers filled out. I'll go over the rules. If you want a tour, I'll give you a tour. If you don't, if you just want to get started, the building's yours. I go into my office and I'd let them investigate or do whatever they want there.
And when is that till?
That is till 3 a.m.
Okay.
So you get it for 9 hours.
Yeah.
That's not bad at all. But just looking at some of these pictures with the lights off, and I'm a big dude. I don't know. Especially getting into like solitary confinement. That looks a little intimidating. It really does.
Now, we got that. The solitary confinement, that is one of our active areas. I've had experiences down there by myself. But nothing that has really, as far as the paranormal, that has really terrified me. I mean, there's one area in the prison that creeps me out when I'm there by myself. But most of my experiences that have really freaked me out weren't the paranormal. It was maybe birds, bats, raccoons, cardboard cutouts, or other people.
Yeah.
Oh, I know we have a jail here that we investigate, and he's got a couple mannequins in there, and he likes moving them. So they're always in different spots. Oh yeah, and it's pitch black, and I forget they're there, and I turn that corner, I'm like, oh my god.
No, when the last time I remember it being facing the window, and then I go off for a while, and you've moved it.
Oh yeah.
And I come back in, and it's somewhere else staring at me. I thought I was this one.
Yep, that has happened to me during days. Like, so I usually, well, right now I get there at 4:30. And the one time I was there by myself, and I'm opening up, and I go up these, it's a short set of stairs, and there's a doorway, but there's glass walls. And I got up these steps 100 times and nothing. This time I'm going up, and I look up, and there's one of those cardboard cutouts staring at me.
Oh God.
Oh.
I wasn't expecting it. I mean, so it's stuff like that will that'll get you. It was in the daytime.
Yeah. Now, I know me being an investigator, curiosity kills a cat. Do you kind of just go and free roam in the jail when you're... Oh?
Can you still hear me?
Yeah. Sorry, give me 1 second. My camera just went crazy.
There you go.
Always when we start talking about the ghosts.
I swear, every podcast, so you guys know if you watch it every week, once we start talking about it, because it's been happening ever since we talked about Trans-Allegheny, the camera just stops. Every time we start talking about the paranormal.
It happens with Henry every time.
Yep.
Trans-Allegheny, Eloise.
But, so from 1990, when it closed, when did they close and just turn it into like a museum right away, or was it closed for a while?
No. What had happened? They closed it in 1990, and then Shawshank. I mean, it was just sitting there vacant. Shawshank Redemption came in about 93 and started filming. And if you see the movie Shawshank Redemption, you'll see the wall and all the buildings in the back and the yard and everything. Well, after they got done filming that, they started tearing down all those support buildings in the back.
Oh, wow.
Because they were taking everything down to build the new prisons.
Yeah.
And they were getting ready to tear down the main building. And the citizens of Mansfield got together, formed the Mansfield Reformatory Preservation Society. And to make a long story short, they purchased it at auction from the state for $1.
Oh, wow.
So, and then they took it over from there. And then that was called the MRPS, was formed in 1995. And they did their first public ghost hunt in 2000. So
wow.
My wife and I came 4 years after that. And that's when we did our first one there. It was in 2004.
So pretty much is it only the main building and the main cell block that's left? The
administration portion, which is that castle looking structure.
Yeah.
Both wings of the east and west cell block. Then they have east and west wings that will go off that.
Okay.
And then they've got diagonals that will go off the back. But all the wall and all the other support buildings in the back are all gone.
Oh, wow. I thought if it was a national a registered landmark, they couldn't touch it. Am I not right on that, or?
I'm not familiar with how that goes. I mean, it was owned by the state.
Okay.
So imagine the state could do whatever they wanted with the property.
Fair enough. So going into what it used to look like to what it looks like now, it's just a big, huge difference.
Right. That's what it looks like now. That's the east cell block. I mean, it's still, I mean,
thing's-
it's still great looking inside. There's a lot of character to it.
Yeah, that's just, it's so intimidating. I'd be like, whoa.
And the goal is, especially on the west cell block, which is the older cell block, they kind of like want to restore that, and they want to make it climate controlled.
Oh, that's cool.
So, but that's gonna be lots of money.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But
No.
that's one of the goals that they want to do. So pretty much all the money that they get goes back into the building.
Right.
You know, they're always, you know, restoring areas, and, you know, especially like in the administration portion.
Right.
And when I first started investigating that, oh my gosh, the whole place was a dump. Now it's like, it's all finished. The first and second floor are all finished. They're working on the third floor now. So, and they've added things. Like on the third floor east, they have escape rooms now. So you can also do an escape room there at the Ohio State Reformatory. One's called Escape from Shawshank.
Wow. So, a lot of these places are doing that now.
I want to go.
Because Eloise has escape rooms too.
I want to go do it.
That's awesome. Now, talking about doing a paranormal investigation in the dark, just, I know there'd be a lot of convincing to get her down hallways like this.
Yeah, that's the east cell block.
Oh, now is that inside that cage? That's where all the cells would be?
Yeah, if you're looking at this picture, the cells are on the right.
Okay.
And the cage, the bars are on the left. And yeah, you go, in fact, we do this thing called the third tier challenge, where you walk the tier by yourself. You go down 50 cells, go along the backside, come up 50 cells by yourself without a flashlight. You don't need a flashlight because there's ambient light coming in from the outside. So
yeah,
that one's an adrenaline rush. So that one's pretty cool.
Did you get your IR camera at least? Can you walk with something? The camera, or you just literally?
Yeah, we do have people that do that, but when I do it, I just walk it without any.
And what happened? What's the craziest thing you've had happen with that?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Sometimes it's people's imaginations. People do claim that they can hear footsteps coming up behind them, and I have heard footsteps. You may hear voices coming out of the cells as you're walking by them. Or as you're going down the tier, you'll see like the shadow heads peeking out, see who's coming.
Yeah.
Nope.
Just walking down there and you're not paying attention. You look at one of the cells and something's looking at you.
The one time you'll see me running.
Well, I have had that happen in solitary confinement.
Oh man.
So it was during a private investigation. And I was given the tour. We were ending up in solitary confinement. I walked by this cell that I walked by hundreds of times, and there's a guy standing right there. I was like, I didn't say anything. I just did a little like quick step and like a little jump. But the woman behind me, she saw it and she started crying. So both of us did see it.
Wow.
And in fact, I've been investigating since '91. I've only seen 4 apparitions, shadow figures, and 3 of them were at OSR.
Now, are they just shadow figures or dark shadows, or
the one I saw was a dark shadow figure.
Got you.
These other 2, it's just you look and there's somebody standing there, but then they're gone like that. So it's hard to make out, but you know that somebody was there.
Right.
So.
And now these cells, when you're walking through, just because when it was a reformatory in a prison, it was so loud. Do you have experiences like that? Like you'll be on the bottom floor and you hear talking up in the cells, or?
Oh yeah. We've had. So I'll tell you about some of my experiences. One time I was in solitary confinement by myself. There was one time where on public investigations, we used to be assigned to different areas, so when guests would come in, there'd be somebody to talk to, tell them about
Right.
the area. I was assigned down to solitary confinement. There was only one way in, one way out. I was the only one in there, and it sounded like there was a huge fight going on down at the end of the solitary confinement area.
Wow.
And there's nobody there. Now, we do hear footsteps, people running up on the tiers when there's nobody there. We hear cell doors closing. I've heard voices in the west cell block. I've heard screaming up in the west attic. I've heard screaming in the guest break room. So we do hear a lot of sounds.
Like a female scream or a male scream?
Male screams.
Was there any females incarcerated there, or
No,
was it just
no? It was strictly all male.
All male. Okay.
I mean, they did have female employees there, and they did have female guards too.
Okay.
But no, it's what I've heard is always like, it sounds like a man screaming.
Wow.
So, and I've had witnesses with me both times, so we've both heard it. Or there was one time, you hear me and an investigator, we were sitting up where the escape rooms are, and that's where I saw my first shadow figure ever. And we heard this loud crash in the middle of the floor. It was just loud crash.
Yeah.
Sounded like light bulbs falling from the ceiling.
Wow.
We searched everywhere, looking, expecting to find something, and there was nothing anywhere. And other guests have heard that, and I've heard it since then too.
Wow. Now, this one is this is solitary, right? Or
no, that is the east cell block on the first level.
Okay. Now, is this the oldest part of the jail you said?
This was the one that was completed in about 1910.
Okay. So yeah, it's definitely got some history in that. Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Just looking through these pictures, I'm like, oh, I can't wait to talk about this.
That is the west cell block. That's on the south side. That's what it looks like right now.
Wow.
That big hole in the ground.
Yeah. That's why I picked this picture. I wanted to know what that was.
Those were tunnels that they used to pump steam heat through.
Oh.
So there are tunnels on both sides, east side and west side. And because they used to try to heat this place any way they could. They originally had fireplaces, and you can still see the fireplaces along the outer edge.
Wow.
So where the windows are, that's on the south side. And every so often you'll find a fireplace.
That's crazy.
But the floor caved in one day, and there were these tunnels, so they just opened it up and put it on display. And guards used to have to walk down through there every once in a while just to make sure that nobody was trying to escape.
Right.
But that's how they used to heat it. And then along the wall there, I don't know if you can see some of them, there were like registers where the heat would come out.
So I know, like, during the winter and everything, there'd be literally frost on the cells and the walls. Like, the whole jail would be glistening because of the ice.
Oh, yeah. Because what would happen, and it's still that way now. In the summer, it gets really hot, especially up on the higher tiers.
Yeah.
So, because how you gonna air conditioning a building like that back in the 20s and
no
even all the way up to
Yeah.
So they used to break out the windows to get air flowing through there.
Oh wow.
Well, especially during the 80s, when the building was going to be torn down. The state's not going to put any money into it, so they never replaced the windows. So then in the winter, it used to get so cold in there that the toilets used to actually freeze.
Wow. Sorry about that. That's definitely a pop and squat situation. Or if you can't even use it. It's completely frozen. What they just like do their business in a bucket or
Yeah.
wherever they could.
Yeah. I mean, it was your problem.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, we're not putting any money into the buildings. Quit breaking out the windows.
Yeah. That's now what is
this? That is solitary confinement.
Oh man.
That
so is this usually most of the time solitary confinement's usually under the building? So is this like in a basement area or
nope, and I can't tell if that's the ground level or the second floor. There's 3 levels to solitary confinement.
Wow.
The original solitary confinement was in the basement. Then crazy. They moved. Then this is either the first or second level. They both look the same. I'm guessing the way that this looks, this is probably the second level.
Got ya. There was that many people in solitary confinement. They had to have 3 floors of it.
Well, eventually they did not use the one down on the sub basement. That was the original one.
Okay.
So, and then they made these 2 up on these two levels. And sometimes when you're down on the first level, you can hear heavy footsteps coming up from the up above you.
Wow.
A lot of people attribute that to a guard by the name of Frank Hanger, who was murdered down there in 1932 during an escape attempt.
Yeah, 2 inmates escaped, and did they like attack them from behind, or do they?
Well, what had happened? Their cell doors were not completely shut and locked.
Okay.
So they were able to get out, but where they were at, there was a secure door to get into that area.
Right.
So one of them found a pipe, like an iron pipe, and Frank was coming in to make his rounds, and as he was coming in, he bludgeoned him. He hit him over the head, and then he went down. He hit him a couple more times. And Frank eventually died from his injuries. He took his keys and then let some of the other inmates out, but I think only 2 or 3 of them actually tried to get out.
Yeah.
And one of them actually started yelling, for help and started yelling for other guards. So they didn't even get out of solitary confinement.
Oh, wow.
And
do all that just to not even go anywhere. That's
right. And it's either 2 or 3 of them were then executed in the electric chair the next year.
For that murder?
For that murder.
Wow. Oh. I'm sorry. I felt like I was going to sneeze for a second. So, like, photos like this.
Now, that is from the movie Shawshank Redemption.
Okay.
Now,
I knew it looked familiar.
Yeah, if you look at it, these cells are facing in.
Okay.
The cells at the Ohio State Reformatory face out.
Okay.
So
you could walk in.
So Frank Darabont, the director, this is more conducive to filming where you can get both cell blocks.
Okay.
So they actually built that cell block scene in a warehouse in Mansfield, Ohio.
Oh, wow. See, that's what I'm saying. I thought that's the way the movie was, that it was just Hollywood, and I didn't realize it was like in the actual prison.
That's, yeah, that one wasn't. Now, we've had movies filmed there in the actual prison.
Got ya. What was it? Air Force One, right?
Air Force One, yes, was filmed there. They filmed in I think it was the third or fourth tier, maybe it's the second tier, in the West Cell Block, and Central Guard Room, and then what we call the Air Force One area, because they still got the gates from the movie Air Force One.
That's cool.
But now there was another movie that came out several years ago called Escape Plan 3, The Extractors, with Sylvester Stallone and Dave Bautista. And pretty much the whole movie was filmed inside everywhere in the prison.
Oh, wow. Now, were you there when they film or
No.
Okay. They kind of just rent the whole jail out or prison out and film and leave? Got ya.
Yep.
I didn't know if you got to meet anybody from the movies or not.
Now, they just filmed, got done refilming some scenes from a movie called Shelby Oaks.
Okay.
Which, gosh, I was there about 4 or 5 weeks ago.
Oh, wow.
They filmed all night till like 6 a.m. And I did get to meet the star of that movie and talked with her for a little while.
That's awesome. Cool. So there's a lot more going on than just the paranormal and the ghost tours.
Yeah. There's tons of stuff going on.
Yeah.
I mean, there's always different events, and they're starting to do more events. They just had a travel show there. They've got a Shawshank Hustle weekend where it's like I forget how long, maybe a 5K, 10K run or something like that.
Okay.
We've had paranormal celebrities there for events. In January, we had Dustin Perry, Steve Gonzalez, and Chris Williams of Ghost Hunters there.
Oh, nice.
Several weeks ago, we had Adam Berry from Ghost Hunters and Kindred Spirits. He was there doing one of his events. We do the Parapsychon there. They have incarceration there. There's always different events going on there. September, October, half of November, we're closed. The paranormal program is closed down because they have their Blood Prison haunted house, their Halloween haunted house there.
Cool. Yeah.
So there's stuff going on all the time.
Yeah, we went to Eastern State Penitentiary, and I kind of did a self-guided tour, and they also have a haunted house that I got to go through in their Terror Behind the Walls, I think it was called. Yeah. I worked at another haunt, so we traded tickets. So we got to go to theirs and they got to go to ours. But you said that you guys have a funny story or a story that you wanted to talk about with Destination Fear when they were there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So, and that's one cool thing about being the lead paranormal investigator there. I was able to be on the show Destination Fear. I was on the show with Katrina Weidman and Jack Osborne, Portals to Hell. Yeah. So I was on that show with them. But I'll never forget Destination Fear because they interviewed me and they came to film in February. So it's really cold in the prison in February. And they did my interview in the sub-basement underneath solitary confinement.
Okay.
It's freezing down there. It was probably about maybe 0 to 5 degrees.
Oh.
So I don't know if you remember seeing the episode. I mean, I got my beanie on. I'm like,
for sure.
Cold. They interviewed me for 45 minutes to an hour.
Wow.
And I was like, oh my God. It's like, let's get out of here now. It's good for where it's warm. And then the camera guy's like, oh, none of the audio recorded. We got to do it again.
Oh.
So spent about 2 hours freezing down there for 7 seconds. I believe we counted 7 seconds.
You got that 7 seconds of fame at least.
Yeah.
Man.
But Portals to Hell, I think my wife and I were on it for like 30 minutes. So that's pretty cool.
We're gonna have to go watch that.
Yeah.
We love Portals to Hell.
Yeah.
We got to meet Jack Osborne at Spookala. And then I was just talking to Katrina Wilderman and Heather Taddy the other day while they were doing their live.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
yeah. I with Heather. In fact, if you go to their YouTube channel, they filmed at OSR because we had them as guests last year for Parapsychon, and then they filmed with Aaron Sagers. So check out that episode too. So
definitely.
That was a good episode.
I'm trying to remember. That's their Heather and Katrina show, right?
It's called Travel the Dead.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, we watched that one too. I don't think I've gotten you into that one yet. It's more like on YouTube type of thing. But get back to these pictures. I kind of got distracted. So what have you had any experiences with James Lockhart and he caught himself on fire? So if anybody knows that story, he was up for parole and his parole got denied. He got his hands on lighter fluid and caught himself on fire, and that's it.
Right.
He was no more.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there have been a lot of suicides in the prison, a lot of hangings, but obviously his was the most dramatic, setting himself on fire. It reminds me of the movie The Longest Yard.
Yeah.
With Burt Reynolds, where, the guy.
Chris Rock.
Oh, no. This was the older one with Burt Reynolds.
Oh, yeah. I forgot there's two. Yeah,
that was the original one. And I remember putting the guy on fire and locking him in a cell. I'm sure that's what James Lockhart went through. But a lot of people go into his cell. I've been in a cell. I've never had any experiences. But I could have.
Right.
And so I'll tell you this story. This happened over on the West Cell block. Now, James Lockhart's cell is over on 4 North, cell number 13.
Okay.
Unlucky 13. Now, we were on the West Cell block, and we were doing live. We did the world's largest ghost hunt several years ago. And so there were 4 of us, and we were doing the Estes method.
Yep.
I mean, I don't like doing the Estes method. I mean, I will videotape, record, and do all that. And that's what I was doing. So we had one of our team members sitting in the cell. She had the headphones on. My wife and another member were maybe 10 cells down in their different cells. And I was the opposite way. I had a tripod and I was recording live.
Right.
And I've got asthma. So I started having an asthma attack. And our team member in the cell, her name was Crystal. And she's like, are you sick? I'm like, okay.
Wow.
And so I said, are you talking about me? Are you talking about my cough? And she says, yep. I'm like, okay, that's kind of weird. So I'll play. So I said, all right, let me introduce myself. My name's Greg. Sure, you've seen me here. You know that I care about you guys. Who am I speaking with? Without missing a beat, almost immediately, she says, I'm Jimmy. Hi.
Wow.
And now it's like, okay, I'm like, she's messing with me. So
yeah.
I'm like, hey, Crystal. She never responded.
Yeah.
Where if she could hear me, I'm sure she'd have been like, yeah, what?
Yeah, right.
So, and then she's like, what are you holding? And then she goes, hey, this is Crystal talking, but it's the same voice I keep hearing.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that was James Lockhart and it goes by Jimmy, but I'm sure there were a lot of James and Jimmys that have.
Oh, I'm sure.
There were like 155,000 inmates that went through the doors of that prison. And obviously some of them never left.
Right. Do you know the exact body count from open to close, or
Nobody does. It's generally accepted that there are about 200 deaths. And I think people say that because there's about 200 graves in the Reformatory Cemetery. right there. Now, a couple years ago, on one of my private investigations, I had a guard who is still a guard at what we call MANCI, the Mansfield Correctional Institute, where some inmates that were at the Reformatory are still there.
Oh, wow.
And he was a guard at the Reformatory before moving over to MANCI. And I asked him about that. I said, hey, it's generally accepted that we've had 200 deaths here. What do you think about that? And he was like, we probably had 200 deaths in the 6 years that I was there.
Oh, wow.
So nobody knows how many.
It could have been thousands, because back then they didn't really keep records like that.
Right.
Wow. That's crazy. So do you know what area this is? Or I just thought it was
the backside. That is the backside of solitary confinement. So this is on the ground floor, and straight ahead where that wall is, and you go to the right. That's about where I heard the fighting when I was there. Yeah. So, and that stairwell goes up to the second level.
Now, to go back to this fighting, was it literally you heard rustling, you heard punching,
scuffling? Just a lot of guys not screaming and yelling, but just a lot of just
like punching. Somebody getting jumped or something,
or football players hitting each other, stuff like that.
That's crazy.
It was crazy.
You want to go hear some fighting? No. This is me trying to convince her to go to places like this.
You gotta go.
So
we've never lost anybody yet.
Yet. I'd be that one.
I kind of call her my bloodhound because she kind of goes to where everything is. Oh, and I kind of just follow her with all my equipment. She ends up finding everything. Yeah.
All the bad places.
This is the chapel. I wish I had a better picture.
That is the chapel. To the right is the altar. Now, these pews are not original to the chapel.
Okay.
So they used to just sit in folding chairs. Now, this was the original chapel inside the prison, but eventually they made more chapels in the support buildings. And eventually, when this was maximum security, they turned this into like a rec room.
Right. Okay.
Now, for this area, I find it to be calming. I go up here and sit by myself sometimes, and I've never had anything happen, but there have been guests who have seen shadow figures walking around up there.
See, that's why I always say don't trust the Hollywood and TV shows, because they from what I knew, this was like one of the most haunted places on the whole property. I come to find out.
Yeah, and understand, I've been investigating there since 2004. I've been there hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times. So right. I have a lot of my own experiences. Yeah. We have experiences from our team members, from staff, from volunteers, from guests. And so like when I do my tours, I rate each area on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being the least active, 5 being the most active. And for the most part, the chapel is a 1. There are experiences up there, but not nearly comparable to the other locations.
Right. And that's why we like talking to people like you. You know, you're in it for the history, you're in it for the paranormal. Like you said, you love those guys. Not everything you see on TV is real. And talking to people like you, the investigators that are there all the time, you get the real story that way. And you get to like the real Ohio State, you know.
Right. And, you know, we may have a team that comes in that doesn't have anything happen in the attic, but they see a shadow figure in the chapel. So they're going to say that's the most active area. Well, on the whole scale of things, it's not.
Yeah.
It's not. More people have experiences in the West Attic than they do in the chapel. So you got to take everything, the total experience of everything and everybody.
Right. Let me. So to go down to administration, or is this the warden's place, or
that is
was it kind of?
That is second floor East Admin. That would have been the superintendent's bedroom area.
Wow.
So
it's a big bedroom area.
Each one of these rooms were bedrooms. Now, the room on the all the way back to the left of those windows, there was a tragic event that happened in that room. So there was a woman by the name of Helen Gladkey. She was the wife of Superintendent Art Gladkey. Now, Art Gladkey was superintendent from 1935 to 1959. He was the longest acting superintendent in the history of the prison. He was there like 35 years, 25 years. Now, it was a Sunday morning. I believe it was November 5th. Helen was in that bedroom in the closet. Now, the ceilings there are they're like 18 feet tall. So they're huge. And the same with the ceilings in the closet. Well, she was reaching for a box up in there. She didn't know it at the time, but her husband's handgun was up there. It fell, discharged, and struck her in the lung. She did not die there. She died several days later of complications from pneumonia. But that's one of the tragic events that has happened at the reformatory.
Now, I know in that area, from what I've found out, there's you get sense of perfume and like cigar smoke in that area. Have you experienced any of that?
My wife and I first experience was 2004. We were given a tour before the public investigation. We were on the second floor, just down from the bedroom area, and the scent of roses was overpowering.
Wow.
And it slowly dissipated, and then eventually it was gone. And then that's when our tour guide at the time told us about Helen, how she used to bathe in rose petaled water. She used to love her rose scent of perfume. But that's generally, as far as my experiences and people I've talked to, it's mostly in that area that you will smell the roses. Now, you mentioned the I think you said cigar pipe. Yeah, it's not cigar smoke, it's pipe tobacco.
Oh, okay.
So Art Gladkey, he was in his office on the west side on the first level when he suffered a fatal heart attack. Now, Art used to smoke a pipe with cherry tobacco in it. Now, people smell that throughout the whole prison.
Wow.
So I've smelled it in solitary confinement with other guests, and we smell it all throughout administration.
So it's kind of like he's just following you while he's smoking his pipe.
Or he's making his rounds. You know, because Helen, she wouldn't go into prison or anything. She would just stay in her area.
Right.
But Art would make his rounds. He'd walk around. And so it makes sense.
That's crazy. And now with the next couple pictures, or the next picture I have, this is like probably, as I like say, this is your first time offense and you go into this prison with all of this. You've never had to shower with somebody, a bunch of, you know, from what I was told, they kind of just hung their clothes up next to them and all walked in a line and bathed, and they called the shower a car wash.
Mm-hmm.
Was it just like the misters misting you like a car wash, and you just walk and clean as much as you can, or?
Let me see this. This looks different.
Okay. It looks like horse stalls. That's what it looks like.
Yeah, and I'm looking to see if I can see any shower heads. The ground is wet.
Yeah.
It could be showers, but
it looked like the showers. It might have not been. It might have been something else. I thought it was
because in the east showers it was just all open, and they had a bar that would go all the way down the length with shower heads coming out.
Yeah.
And in fact, in the movie Shawshank Redemption, the shower scene.
Yeah.
Where the sisters first make contact with Andy, that was filmed in the east showers.
Wow.
And here's trivia about that too. So when they came in to film, obviously the building was already abandoned for several years, so there was no running water.
Right.
So what they did, they had a fire engine pumper parked outside, pumping in cold water through those pipes. So those actors are bathing in freezing cold water, and they put dry ice in the drains underneath to make it look like steam coming up.
You want to take a cold shower?
No.
No?
No.
Oh, I'll get her in here one day. So this, like, whoever is taking these pictures, they're just really cool.
I got some really good pictures.
I just started getting pictures. But imagine just being in your cell and this is the only thing you saw laying in your bed for the rest of your life. I couldn't even imagine. So was there just, the cells were just one bunk bed, whoever gets the top, whoever gets the bottom, and then you said it was like 3 or 4 people to a cell.
Somebody would sleep on the floor. Now this looks like it's a cell from the West Cell block, because those were actually a little bit bigger, and they actually had 4-person cells in the West Cell block. But West Cell block was 8 feet deep by 7 feet wide, so they had a little bit more room.
That's, we're almost done.
I don't think I'd want to be stuck in either.
No, I wouldn't want to be in there at all. I couldn't imagine 3 people in a little cell like that. That would just just causes tension.
No, that looked like East Side, because I didn't see any stone. So the East Side is made of steel.
Okay,
and the West Side is made of stone, and that looks like steel instead of the stone.
That's crazy. Now, so when they went through the jail and cleaned everything out, obviously people it was a very violent jail. They would have contraband, they would have weapons, they would have all this. This is some of the stuff that they found in the contraband of, I don't even know how you get a gun in the jail or prison.
There's ways.
It literally looks like handmade brass knuckles and.
Yeah, and even after the prison closed, they were finding contraband for years afterwards.
Oh, I'm sure. You get locked in there 23 hours a day. You find places that most people don't find.
Right.
So we have a couple videos for you, and then we'll get into the old Sparky. I know Sarah's
fighting to keep my eyes.
Fighting to keep her eyes. She's fighting to keep her eyes, guys. We gotta
my eyes
focus. Oh, I thought she was losing her eyes.
That just shows how much he pays attention.
Whatever. So, if you guys don't know we do blind reactions to these videos. So we'll play this video and then we'll talk about it a little bit. Here's the first video, guys.
Chapel area down here. Remember that's where that one Frank or whoever said they saw shadow people?
Oh, yeah. What about that girl?
No, I thought that was you. I heard that.
So you had it in my notes, but I don't have them up right now. Obviously, you said this is in the chapel area.
No, that was West Cell Block.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that.
I'm sorry. West Admin, coming down from I think we were coming down from the second level to the first level. And it was just her and I. We had the camera going and we're talking and we hear this breath in between us. It just went, and then you can hear her say, "Was that you?" And I'm like, "No, I thought it was you." So we're just talking and there's this breath, and people have heard that throughout the prison. You know, they'll hear it in their ears. And
so it's just somebody coming up like, they're trying to get your attention or like in part of the conversation or.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. That's like, hey, talk to me. I'm here.
Yeah. Yeah. And they do that there. We've gotten a lot of EVPs where they want to jump in and be part of the conversation. So all of our EVPs from there are not like, you know, what's your name? Did you die here? Stuff like that. It's when you're talking with another team member and they'll just pipe in.
Wow. That's crazy. Now, before we get into this last video, I have one more thing that we want to talk about, which I found out they actually never did any executions in Ohio State. They did it in another jail, correct? Another facility?
Correct. Yep.
Now, this is unfortunately not the original chair, but this is a replica of the electric chair that they had that they executed people in.
Don't that just look super comfortable?
And so they nicknamed the Old Sparky. They executed 312 men were executed in this chair, and 3 women were executed in this chair. We were talking about it offline. You say you don't really get anything off of this. Is it because of the replica or?
Yeah, like I said, that is the replica. We do have the original electric chair there. It's in our Ohio.
That one?
Huh?
Do you get anything off the original chair?
No. I never have. We've had psychics come through and say, "Oh, there's a lot of spirits attached to this chair," but no, we've never had anything paranormal that has happened over there since. But now the area is closed off during private investigations. So, but you know, I've told people investigate on the other side of the wall, and you never know what you're going to get. But I haven't heard any stories. I haven't had any experiences over there.
I mean, just because they're attached to it doesn't mean they're right on it.
Right.
Which means if that gets moved, then they'll get moved.
Right. I just thought because they were executed on this, it's electricity, you know, it's wood. That's major conductors of what spirits can hold on to, you know. They imprinted into that chair of somebody losing their life. I didn't know if there was anything connected or but like you said, when there's a big music festival that happens there every year, it's called Incarceration. Just major bands play there for 3 days. Is there more activity when they know that it's coming? Is there like more energy? You're talking about like thousands of people show up to this.
Oh yeah, you're talking about thousands and thousands of people.
Thousands of people,
thousands and thousands. Yeah.
Does it affect the prison at all? Like once they leave and all that energy is still there, does it give the spirits more energy?
I haven't noticed that.
Okay.
I mean, we have stuff happen all the time, and you know that there's people that say, well, you know, the full moon that, you know, creates stuff too, and you're going to get more activity. I'm like, no. Thunderstorms, you know, I was just there on Sunday night. We had a thunderstorm coming through. Now the guests did say that they did see some shadow figures, but for the most part, no, I've had any experiences with that.
Yeah.
The witch people, you know, the witching hours, you know, 6, 9, 12, and 3. You know, they're
Yeah.
like, why do you close at 3? That's the witching hour. Well, no, I have stuff happen at 5:30 in the afternoon. It's,
Right. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, stuff happens all the time. But as far as and even like when we have our haunted house, Blood Prison, when that's over, you know, we don't know. I'm sure that they're relieved that it's
Oh,
over.
sure. Yeah. Yeah.
And the same with incarceration. But I personally haven't experienced a spike in increased
Right.
activity.
I was just curious, you know, that much energy with the bands playing and all the lights, all the everything. I just didn't know if that caused more energy or more activity that happened.
Yeah, some of the craziest experiences I've ever had have nothing to do with like incarceration or blood prison or you know,
Just
thunderstorms or anything like that. In fact, one of the craziest experiences I've ever had happened May 25th. Happened May 25th a couple years ago. And I was sitting in my break room. I was the only one staff member volunteer working that night, and all my guests were out. Now, the break room at that time was in the kitchen, just off the guest break room. So we had a security TV in there with a bunch of security cameras. But you know, it was the kitchen. They had a commercial freezer, commercial refrigerator, ice maker, and all this stuff. Well, one evening, I'm not even thinking paranormal. Well, I'm working on the Parapsychon, I'm working on my computer. And I hear this noise, and I look over, and this brand new, well, it was probably a year, 2 years old, a 2-door huge commercial freezer. I think there was a bag of blueberries and a bag of chicken wings in it. Other than that, it was empty. But I look over, and that door is just opening and slamming on its own continuously. It was just like bang, 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 bang. It did it 8 times.
Wow.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
I had nobody there to witness it with me. So the first thing I did, I called my wife. I'm like, you are not going to believe what just happened. So that was May 25th. There was nothing prior to that or.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
So there's no rhyme or reason why some of the activity happens. Most of the people that get, you know, scratched up in the chair room, that's like March, April.
Yeah.
So
just a normal day.
Yeah. So as far as the ink and blood prison, I would have probably no. I personally don't think it increases because crazy stuff happens there.
Right. Yeah. Wow. All right. So we have our last video, and then we have the question of the week, which is Sarah's favorite. Woohoo! Yay. No. That's all you get this week? Okay. Thought I was going to get more out of her. All right. Here's the next video.
You were on the west sidewalk, right? No. East?
That smells back. You smell it?
Yeah, the
west. Just came back.
We're on the west sidewalk. It smells okay.
Remember, it's cold.
Now, do you
that was just like that was just a random mist out of anywhere. Was that like somebody exhaling or?
No. It's because we had video. I mean, we videoed everywhere that night. And that's the only time we captured that. And it corresponded to the smell that we smelled. So earlier in the night, we smelled this. It was like, you know, rotten eggs, burning sulfur. It was nasty. We smelled that earlier in the night. And then while we were up over on the west cell block on one of the tiers, that smell came back. And we didn't even know that we captured anything until we went back and reviewed it. And there shouldn't have been anything there. But as you see, right when that smell comes, there's that mist. So, I mean, logically, I'm thinking they go hand in hand. And then I was also thinking, well, could have been somebody's breath. It wasn't really cold that night. But if it was somebody's breath, we would have seen it throughout the whole night.
Right.
So that was the only time we saw anything that resembled that. And it just so happens it coincided with the smell.
Have you had that happen since?
Oh, people smell, terrible smells in the prison sometimes. Not in administration pretty much, but just in the cell blocks.
I'm sure you have 3 people to 600 smells. I'm sure that prison didn't smell very well.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, especially with the pipes frozen. No.
Oh, and they was trying to get a shower once a week.
Yeah, that's
3 guys in a cell. July.
In the middle of summer, just sitting there sweating.
Yeah.
Oh God.
I think I'd gag just from the smell.
That's punishment in itself.
Absolutely. Especially when you get a big guy like me in 100-degree weather. I sweat walking out the door. Like,
oh yeah,
yeah. Oh, it could be like 30 degrees and I'm still sweating. I'm a big dude. Can't help it.
Yeah, I sweat a lot too.
Yeah, but so anybody that's watching right now, and if you're watching this later on YouTube, or Paranormal 24/7, we have it on there also. We do a question of the week. Woohoo! We need to find some music or something to go with that. I've been trying.
Yeah.
But what we need you to do in the comments is we're gonna play this video and then we'll give our take. We'll see what Greg's take on the question of the week. And we would love in the comments to let us know what you think the question of the week would be. And I know it's Sarah's favorite, so I'll let Sarah type it.
Actually gonna let her press it.
Yep. You're on death row. This is the number one question of everybody. What would your last meal be before you go and take that walk down the Green Mile?
Pasta.
Pasta? That's it?
Different types of pasta dishes.
Just pasta, no sauce, no.
Different pasta dishes. Like lasagna and chicken alfredo.
That's it. All right. I mean, I've heard. I've heard worse. See, I have diverticulosis, so there's some stuff that I can't eat, like peanuts and popcorn. And
I'd have some mango ice cream.
That's what I'm saying.
I know I don't have to feel bad about my roommate.
Right. I'd have all the stuff that I can't have now, and that would be. I'm dying anyways. What's it gonna do?
And what am I gonna do? Suffer?
Yeah. What is your last meal, Greg?
All right, I'm going to take a deluxe pizza.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to take a double cheeseburger.
With bacon?
Sure.
Might as well go big.
I'm going to take a ton of French fries, lots of ketchup, and a chocolate sundae.
Ooh. I might take a Ben & Jerry's ice cream. Everything but the kitchen sink type of. Yeah, throw it all.
I'm not really big on ice cream though.
I am. I love ice cream.
Oh, I love ice cream. We were up at Ben & Jerry's, their original factory up in Vermont.
So we get in a little. Carrie says, "I would request everything I'm allergic to, including
that chocolate ice cream." Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You're gonna die anyways. What's right. Might as well go big.
That's right.
Never ending pasta from Olive
See?
Garden.
See, I'm not the only one.
I mean, eventually they're gonna get tired of it and be like, all right,
That
dude, let's
garlic
go.
bread.
Let's go.
And the cheddar biscuits.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, there's a lot of stuff
There's
that I
so
would
much.
get.
It's hard to choose.
I just
Yeah.
want one bite of every single food that I actually like.
All right.
Yeah, it's just there's just too many to choose from.
So
Why get full on one meal? You can just get
Take
one
little
bite.
bites of everything.
yeah,
Make the
One
state
bite.
pay. Make the state pay.
A little
Yeah,
bite of
yeah,
steak,
for
a little,
sure.
a little bite of pasta, some garlic bread, a nice big old sip of coffee.
yeah.
I would choose coffee as my
I would
meal.
probably pick popcorn and all the barbecue I could get.
I'll make
Oh
you some
yeah.
pork
yeah.
roast.
Oh. Yes.
Sit out there and smoke me a brisket for 8 hours and then come and just
Yeah.
give me the whole slab.
There you go.
Yeah. But I want to greatly appreciate you
Yeah.
coming on, Greg. It was great learning about this historic landmark. Is there anything else that you would like to promote? But before we go, I know I have a couple of your .orgs and wherever we could find you.
Mm-hmm.
I know we went over your Paracon and everything. Is there anything else that you would like to promote?
Just if you haven't been to the Ohio State Reformatory, come on out. Check it out, and especially check it out during Parapsychon. May 17th through the 18th, which is only about 6-7 weeks from now. So it's perfect time to come out. I mean, kill two birds with one stone.
Yeah.
For sure.
Get the free Parapsychon and your self-guided tour of the Reformatory. You can't beat it.
Absolutely. Her mom doesn't live too far from there,
Yeah.
I don't think.
There you go.
We'll get there and have her walk around and video chat with us.
Yeah.
There you go. And when you see me,
Yeah.
come up and say hi.
I know my
Definitely.
mom would like to go.
I know we want to go up there and visit her, so we might be able to come and see you too.
There
I'll make sure I bring a backpack full of equipment.
You will.
We also do a celebrity ghost hunt and a VIP kickoff party too.
Nice.
Oh,
So, and all that's on our website. Everything you need to know about the event is on the website, theparapsychon.com.
got ya. All right, Greg. Well, thank you for coming on. I appreciate you talking with us on such short notice.
Are you getting a little tongue right
I
there?
am. But I want to thank you and welcome to the Underworld family.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right.
I'm not messing it up this week, so remember,
Always stay creepy.
There you go.
Have a good
Yeah,
day,
have a
guys.
good night.